Hey everyone. Let's test those levels real quick. Yeah, looking good. I think so. I'm gonna turn down the music a little bit. I think they've been quiet in the videos, but I'd rather be too quiet then. Especially because I tend to soften my voice as I go a little bit. You have to forgive me. The weather's super dry here. We were even on the news. I live in Wyoming, if you don't know. But we were on national news about just having this crazy cold front. It's really dried out the air, so I'll do my best to mute the mic whenever I clear my throat. But anyway, let's get to it. We're going to be doing some anime, quote-unquote, styled effects. Specifically like dust and smoke, things like that. Here's a basic implementation. You've probably seen something similar there. Show you what it looks like in-game, in my game. Jump over here. Whoop. Just like that. And, you know, you've probably seen it. Please don't content ID me. Last time it was like a tiny square on the Steam page for a Naruto game, and I got content ID'd. I contested it, and it was fine. They were like, yeah, we don't care, so that's fine. But I'm just like, people are so stingy. Let's see. Yeah, like right around in here. You know, these sorts of effects. Talk about the pros and cons. There's lots and lots of pros. That's why you're starting to see more. I've mentioned it before. How a lot of mesh-based stuff like that, and texture-based animation rather than using particles or something. Just a lot of pros to it. So yeah, we've talked about it before, mentioned it in other videos, but we're going to do like a real full-on implementation, showing how to create textures, breakdown of the shader, and different ways to go about it, different ways to stylize it. Well, let's just get right to it. Let's grab this new one I got going on here. Oh, we're listening to the Fate Extra on PSP soundtrack. Alright, let's go. So one of the main things you see, you know, there's some scaling animation and stuff, and we'll get to more of that when we're actually animating. The shader itself, you know, a big part of it is the alpha cutoff, which we've mentioned before. So this sort of effect here. I have a better angle, did I move the camera? Let's take this biz. This like alpha cutoff, and creates this really nice effect where, you know, it's like smoke fading out. And I want to mention this sort of like happy accident I had where, you know, I thought I was gonna have to like totally rewrite the shader, because, you know, my own implementation here is a little more naturalistic, and it's good too. You know, it depends on like your wants and needs. You can see it's not as graphical, usually is the term. You know, not less of a cel-shaded look. Even without the glow, I mean, I have like, you know, fade out and like these softer edges. With this, you know, this anime style one. And I say anime style is mostly to, I hate to use the word clickbait, but just, you know, so people get an idea of what they're getting into. But you don't have to necessarily use it that stylized. It's more about the implementation, and then you can use it however you want. Anyway, this happy accident, and it happens so much. When I first wrote the shader a few years ago, I just threw on this alpha influence thing. I'd never seen it before in any other shader. Not saying it hasn't existed, I just... all it does is multiply the final alpha, you know, the actual... how much influence is on the screen, by a value. Like, it just multiplies itself. And it's helped me do like so many cool things, because normally I have it at 1, right? So normally my texture would be like this. This is our texture, and we'll get to it. And then the alpha cutoff goes like this. For my own implementations, I like it. I want that softness. But you know, for that graphical one, it's like, oh, okay, maybe I'll have to rewrite the shader. But then I just like turn the alpha influence off, so now you know, in our texture, we have all this like soft alpha, you know, this transparency. But if we just turn it off, then we can still do the alpha cutoff and get more of that, like, you know, graphical anime styled look. So that's really cool. Anyway, it's just, there's been a few other things. I can't think of what they were, but like this little alpha influence thing has been really cool. Even though I don't necessarily use it that much, like for animating, like one of the reasons I did it is to have an alpha cutoff that's soft. So you can do that, and you may prefer that. That's kind of why I had it. So you can have this soft like cutoff animation. The motion isn't as strong. It would be nice if we could get like an in-between. And you kind of can if you animate them together. The alpha cutoff and the alpha influence. It just becomes difficult. You know, I mentioned before how it's nice to have all these tools within like one shader, you know, all these like different dials and inputs. But when you're animating, you want to cut that down. It just becomes way better if you just have like one thing to work with. So, you know, I mentioned maybe spend like 5 or 10 minutes now. We're gonna look at the shader. So this is one we've used before. I made one change, and there might be some. Well, I know one other change we're gonna do like live as we talk about it. We're going to, let's see, where's the chat? Sorry, I haven't gotten next level where I have another, you know, have it on my phone or have it on another monitor. I actually hate 2 monitors. I have lots of desk space I could have too, but I'm just like, bleh, no thanks. So, the shader itself, you know, again, this is one that I've provided before. The specific one, which I'll upload, will have some changes. We'll get to them in a minute. Main thing is that alpha cutoff. It basically, it's this right here. Texture alpha is less than or equal to the alpha cutoff, then you discard. Excuse me. So, I mean, that's it. And so it's looking at the alpha of the texture. And you can do some other implementations, but like I mentioned before, this alpha influence thing actually made it so we can just do this, what we already have. You may want a separate texture to your, you know, your actual cutoff texture. But I think it works pretty nicely when you just have those things working together. Again, it's like one less step, one less texture you have to make. But there's reasons for why you might want a separate one. Like if you want like your inner and outer ring to be different, this is one of the changes I have. We have this inner tint, just a real simple way to give it a 3D look. Let's actually turn on our texture here. So now we have like actually this going on. We hit this alpha cutoff. Looks kind of bad. It's not like, there's a reason why you'll see more flat values because of things like that. You can in like anime games and stuff, you'll see sort of a softer, not such a stark like difference in the values. What I mean is like the highlight and shadow values. So what was I getting at? Anyway, alpha cutoff. This is the other change I was going to talk about. My alpha cutoff is tied to the color cutoff. It was just something that I liked. You may want to turn that off. So we're going to go ahead and do that because we're sort of doing that, focusing on like that sort of more graphical look. So we're going to go ahead and duplicate that. Actually, can I just turn that off? Whoops, did it on my wrong shader. Got my original shader open. Get on out of here. So this is lerping between. Oh, I just have that smooth sip, so what we want to do is... hopefully. Not sure that worked. I thought that's all I needed to do. I feel a little silly. An alert between color. Sorry about this. I might just implement that later for y'all. It's not that big of a deal. At least stylized looks generally, like I mentioned, don't have that harsh of a shading going on. And if you're still like confused about what's going on, you can see how like the whole thing kind of darkens. It goes towards this low color value as I turn up the alpha cutoff. In the implementations, like in this Naruto, or excuse me, this One Piece one, there's a good shot up here. As it fades out, the texture doesn't change based on the cutoff. You can see that there. Mine does it sort of automatically. Let's see, give it to me. That's a bad spot. I thought that was the spot. I know there's a good shot of it. Anyway. Let's just get to it. I didn't mean to have so much like intro there. So we'll keep it. And you can like mess with the color cutoff too to... Oh, that would do better. We'll just do that for now. So what's actually going on here? It's looking at this texture here, right? And using that as the cutoff. And the cutoff, you know, discards, like we showed in that shader there. You know, basically just gets rid of that. It won't draw it to the screen. So how I like to do, I've mentioned this before. Go ahead and duplicate this layer. Delete everything on it. We're in Photoshop here. We have an inner glow of black, 100%. Inner glow will not add any alpha. So what that means is if we have this here, let's go to 100%. Oh, I turned it off a bunch. It's like, what? So what that means is that these alpha, like the darkness out here, what am I trying to say here? With this particular shader, it takes the white and the black and then blends between these two colors. And so we just do inner glow to darken that. So based on basically the alpha here, it'll go from light to dark, which is generally what you want like all the time, but there's going to be exceptions where maybe, you know, you want full alpha here, but then you'll want to darken it. And I've realized recently, you know, I used to grab the outer glow, actually have it turned up a little bit, and throw that on there too. As you see, it actually adds alpha. So I used to like just do it like this. It was kind of nice, like some effects I wanted that like harsh. Just something to keep in mind. So a lot of times I want it turned off. I actually had it up just a little bit, well, halfway. Give us a good look. So let's start by filling the screen. Go ahead and save that. Oh, let's actually crop, show a couple things that you may run into. Go ahead and add a little bit of the shading in here. As we pull this around, you know, we can see that that edge there. That may not be a problem for you. Again, our alpha influence is turned all the way down. Normally we'd be looking at it like this. Doesn't seem to do much. It's a little weird. Oh, it's not. It's full on. Never mind. So to get rid of that in Photoshop, the reason it does that is because the glow thing, the effect here, is stopping here. So even if you like grabbed a square and went like that, it's like, well, you know, how can I get rid of that? Well, the square only draw on the active canvas, so you can just draw that out. We're likely going to want that anyway, but it's just something to keep in mind when you're working. So, you know, we have this glow set up. We have inner glow. Oh my gosh, this bug. This bug is like 12 years old, I swear. Go ahead and restart Photoshop because of that. We just have, you know, white everywhere. We're gonna do an inner glow. You don't have to do the outer glow. Inner glow with the full black. Outer glow. So that means we can start poking holes in it. And where we have a hole, it's gonna blend to black as well. So this is basically how you get started. You may want to soften your edges a bit. You know, it depends on how stylized yours is. Generally want to maybe do this. We'll make it a little bit bigger. So first, maybe no, we want something like that. So we'll glance at that. So now we have something more like this. So these edges maybe you don't want it that soft. It's up to you. But the main thing is start poking some holes in it. Save that. We got this going on. Where's my shader? Turn that alpha influence off, so now we just have this. We're running into some issue. This is another like bug. Let's actually see if we can fix it real quick. No compression. What's happening is that the full-on zero opacity defaults to white sometimes. So sometimes you have to, and it's a Unity thing. Well, I mean, it's like a combo of Unity and Photoshop. We're still getting it. That's really annoying. Let me go back to this. This previous one because I know it worked. Still doing it, huh? I don't know what's going on there. Anyway, what's happening when the alpha is full 0, it defaults to white, even though it's, you know, alpha 0. And I want black, and I'm saying please be black here. It's like not doing it. I don't know. So you can see how these like holes are like turning white and they're not supposed to be. Make an adjustment here. Anyway, let's just, I don't know. There's things you can do where you go into like your channels and stuff, but it's such a pain. And generally you can fix it by, sorry about this little hiccup here, it was not happening before. If you turn off compression, generally fix it up. Sometimes I just like mess with all these, see if they help. Wow, that's obnoxious. I don't know why it's doing that. Just try 90% here. It's still doing it. That is so whack. Oof, it's giving me anxiety. It's making me so mad. Anyway. Start poking holes in it. So grab this. Do the alpha cutoff, you can see. You know, it's looking at the alpha, so that's why we use this soft brush here and just erase, start poking holes in it. You can create some sort of, how do I say this, like motion, so like turn it down to like 50%, do a couple, so those ones will happen later. You can do like 10%, poke a few more holes. Trying to mitigate that with the... That's so whack. Anyway, might be kind of hard to see here, but as we go, and then sort of like new holes start forming. We'll do like 20%, poke a few here. You know, it's going to depend on your style and things like that. Rotate around, show some different views. Like that. Yeah, pretty self-explanatory. We're showing that a lot, but you can see here right at the end, we have like a big sort of like drop off. So there you kind of just have to, you know, I turn my eraser to like 3%, and I start just sort of hitting everything. You know, kind of emphasize the holes a bit. You can also work backwards, where you like, I'll show you here. So now, you know, here we have more motion here in these final moments, which is nice. Dude, that bug is so annoying. It wasn't happening before. So you have like a real strong, like, bring this more to the front. Yeah, we just have a big ol' there. Be a little more interesting. There we go. And you can kind of work with it, like maybe you're like in the spot here and you want like a little more texture. So maybe go in and like some of this. Didn't even show up. I guess it's down here. I could turn off this. That's it. Just had a revelation. I wrote the shader, but it was like years ago. It didn't work. Oh well, we'll have to fix that. Sorry, I keep going back and forth. It's annoying, you know. Any questions coming through? Nope. It's really bugging me. Actually, I think it's fixed. I think I was actually confused, which is like even more embarrassing. Oh my god, I was. Yeah. That bug is real, but that's not what was happening. I was just confused. Man, I really thought I could just... I really want to turn this off now. I want to show you. Oh, my gosh. There it is. So there it is with the cutoff, like... Oh, it looks like it's lerping still. Oh, we did it on the inner ring, maybe? I shouldn't be troubleshooting this right now. Yeah, it's not a big deal. I feel like I should just be able to turn it off though, instead of using the alpha cutoff. So alert between. Did that work? It's still darkening it. Oh no, it worked! Oh my god, there it is. Such a goofball. Sorry. There we go. So now if you look at the inner ring, one moment. What's up? Sorry, someone was knocking on my door. So now that texture doesn't like fall off as we increase our alpha cutoff. You may want that. We could turn this into a value, so you could like blur between it if you wanted. I just get these little bugs and they like really bug me, and so I'll get some weird behavior there. Oh, I forgot to. So anyway, let's get to animating. Let's check our notes here. Oh yeah, so what we have is you know, we have a shader set to specifically sort of shade this differently. You can instead, and you'll see this a lot, go ahead and duplicate this material. To inner. It's a little more clunky, but it has some benefits, and you'll see it a lot. Platinum games. Someone recently. What game was I playing? Dragon Ball maybe. Dragon Ball FighterZ, the new one. We're gonna go ahead and duplicate this. Scale it down a tiny bit. We're going to give it that other one. Did I scale it down enough? Let's see. We're going to want to can you give it to me? Don't want to go the other way. That's not even showing up. Oh, whoops. Let's see. Promise this is a thing. It's some weird Z fighting. Oh my gosh, ticking me off. Give it to me. Why though? Anyway, we're getting some trouble here where this is like drawing in front. You can separate, like do it in separate meshes. I've done this like no problem. I don't know why it's doing this right now. Usually I can fix it by but then it's like all behind. So sometimes you have to like split your mesh. The point is that you can thicken it sort of because you're like doubling it up, but then it also like gives you this kind of like nice rim lighting. This is just because of my implementation of it. I must have done something with just like the draw order and the culling and stuff. Anyway, sorry, so many hiccups this video. Let's just get to animating it, and we'll show the different meshes. Here, it's like a flat ring mesh. We should probably go through and, I don't know. I usually get caught up when... let's just do it real quick. How to make it. It's nice to have it in one video. So delete, we're in Blender. Add a mesh. Add a circle. Go in here. Hit E to extrude. Grab. Go up. Sorry, one sec here. About that. Mark a seam here. Grab over here. Boop. This is real fast. So we have it in other videos, but bring up the UV image editor. You grab them all, hit U to unwrap, and we'll do cylinder projection. And then we grab this, pull it down, and basically we're all set. That's our, you'll save that. And from there, we're going to be doing like other types of meshes where we scale this out. This mesh right here can give you a lot, and we'll show when we get to the implementations. You can have stuff like this, where you like scale it up a bunch, or you have little shockwaves like along the ground, like that. We also have one that's like this. Gives you a little more volume. That's what I have on here. One sec. Sorry, my roommates are having fun. They know I'm recording. I think they forget. Any questions? No. Get to the end of this. There we go. So anyway, I use that sort of tire one on... Oh, it's not this one. The one thing to keep in mind is that like these simple ones work great. It can be nice to give it a little bit of volume. On some of my effects I do it. Let's see on... honestly, I could probably use... Because each ring... The point is that each ring that you add is going to add like a lot of vertices, which will affect, you know, performance. So let's see here. On one of these ones, I have that sort of tire one. I just thought it looked nicer on that one. So let's go here. Oh, I know that mesh creation thing was really fast, but I have it in some other videos you can check out on the page here. So we're gonna go in. I already have an animator set here. Go here. Do a new one. So we're gonna do anime. Smoke Annie. Grab here. On my setup here, you know, we have this parent here. I'm gonna grab this one, this is my old one. You know, the main one here for like the effect, like when we instantiate it like in the game. Here is like a single one. You'll see that like on my actual effect I have these two rings here. That way we can have like a single parent that can be instantiated, you know, facing the character or whatever we need. and then you can move these around separately. We have a pivot here, so that if we want to rotate this around, it can be centered or not centered. It can be offset. And then we have this actual like circle down here. It's hard to explain like why you want like an additional child here. It just ends up working nice. Again, it's so you can have little offsets and things. Just go ahead and start animating. We will go here. You know, our alpha cutoff is our main one. Just go ahead and do that. I generally like to just go straight to 1. Go here. I end up speeding it up a lot. So now if we hit play. So you can see this is linear, but it kind of shoots off at the end. Part of that was because of, you know, I was trying to create more motion at the end. But we can, so you can fix it in your texture, or you can fix it with your curves. And you generally do it with the curves here. So, you know, this is pretty soft, but maybe it needs to be even softer. See, you can see how that flattened out nicely by just doing that. We may even want to extend that out. Let's go to our dope sheet. Let's pull this. If anyone knows a better way to like make it zoom out, but so that's pretty cool. That's looking nice. Get some weird like choppiness at the end here. So these little bits, if you really wanted to correct it, you'd go in and soften that a bit. Like, so these are still at 100% opacity, is my guess. Because right here, it finally hits, you know, the cutoff hits 1, and so that finally like takes care of that. So you may want to go in and correct that. For tutorial's sake, we don't really need to. And one of the other motions is the scaling. So I'm actually going to turn off the recording. And I think I do it on the pivot here normally. Yeah. We're going to scale it down, go back to the scene. Sort of create our starting size. I'm actually going to fatten it a little bit. Down here. And then I'll turn the recording back on. Just scale it a tiny bit so it creates a keyframe. And then go to our end point. Create the size that we want at the end. Check out the game size here. See, I want a lot bigger than that. We're gonna go pretty big. Maybe not quite that big. That motion's not great, but we're gonna fix that. So, it kind of depends on the effect. Sometimes you want kind of a linear motion with your scaling. Like if we hit the effect that I've been showing, you can see they start off pretty quick, but then their fade out's kind of linear. It's kind of hard to tell, but you know, again, it depends on your own style and things like that. I don't know why that happened. What? Oh, right. So let's hit up our curves. Really don't like the S curve for that. Scale. So S curve means like smooth in, smooth out. Generally, when you hear that term, you know, fast in, slow out is what I do for most of my stuff. You kind of, gosh, please. It's going to depend on like what you like. So it's going to go like that. Our Z is scaling a little bit different. I've mentioned before, like, animating with the UVs is nicer because you don't have like 3 different things you have to work with and line up all this stuff. It can be kind of annoying. Let's check that out. That's looking a little weird still. Soften that a bit. Gonna make our initial one. I don't know, it's pretty small. I'm thinking even smaller. Why does that keep happening? This position one. It's getting real big real fast. It seems a little weird. I mean, I know that's like the curve we did, but... Alright. Let's just bring it down a bit. I don't like that still. Actually gonna grab the Z here and not scale it up as much. You'll see that a lot in my own stuff, and it depends on the effect again. You'll see a lot where the Z isn't scaled at all, or just a little bit, you know, like we have here. Down still. It's hard to get right. That's art for you. It's a lot of... I hope the outside stuff, if they have the TV up really loud, I'm sorry. I might just redo this video if it ends up being lousy. So that's looking a lot better. Our cutoff is like, doesn't match our motion. Generally you want that, so it's like we want that fast and slow too. We have this extra one to make it happen sooner. So now this motion's a little bit better. I do want this bigger. Ooh, yeah, there we go. That's some Dragon Ball looking stuff. The scaling is nice because not only is the motion nice where it's like spreading out, but it stretches your texture more and it gives you that like pull away feeling. We're gonna slow this down a bit here. You know, if we want, I kind of want that end to just hold on a little bit longer, so I'm going to line up all these. Excuse me. Why don't you do this to me? Please. And then drag it out. Any questions? Nothing? Sweet. It's going a little slow right there. Correct that. I mean, it's pretty fast. I'll just raise this up a bit. So I'm going to hit up our texture with really low opacity eraser, but just so we don't have that that sharp fall off at the end. Still getting it a little bit. We can also fade it out if we wanted. Let's hit it again. See if we can just fix it. Looks a little bit better. But like I mentioned, you can do some actual fade out stuff. You know, with opacity, we have, you know, an intensity value here, which just multiplies. You know, you can go high or low with it. It's a really handy value. So we go here, just make it 0. So it's going to fade it out. It's going to be sort of a different effect. So if we want that more graphical look, oh wow, see our alpha cutoff actually, oh I do this a lot. Oh no, that's my bad, it's because okay, cool. So let's go, so the alpha cutoff actually happens right here, so we're going to slide all that in. And what I'm getting at is that we can use that, grab the alpha cutoff. I'm so bad at this, people. What are you doing to me? Bring that in. It's like we need to ramp this up, but then soften it here. Because we want that motion to be happening right away. Because see, like all through here, there's not much motion with the alpha cutoff, you know what I'm saying? It's like, I want to try this. There's going to be a punt. Ramp it up more here. Oh yeah, there we go. You can see a little fades back in. It's kind of cool, but it's not what we want. It's like I want another key. Normally it's not this tough. And again, you can kind of correct that through your textures and mess with these curves a bit. Sometimes these curves are obnoxious. New Unity actually has it so you can control the length of the curves. You can pull these out. I don't know if it's actually been implemented yet, but it's something they're talking about in their recent notes. Yo, what up, Ritzler? Not too much. Just make some anime smoke. Soften this. It's just going really fast. Dude, this, like, right in here is really annoying. Flatten this out. Add that key back in and just pull it up just a little bit. There we go. So now we have that motion just like happening all the time. What I mean is like the alpha cutoff motion. So anyway, that intensity, to keep it graphical, we may just want to do something more like this. So the fade out really only happens like when the alpha cutoff happens, so it's like alpha runs off like right here. You know what I'm saying? So it stays mostly graphical. And again, you can do a better job with the texture and you won't have that, actually, I'm thinking about it. This might solve a lot. It did. It's that outer glow thing. Because again, this adds alpha, so it'll mess up like what you might think your actual alpha values are. Yeah, it's much better. But now, this happens too fast, so Please. I think one like way over here. Add that key back in. The motion on the scaling I don't like either. Hopefully that gives you an idea. Another thing we can do. We can get rid of these edges maybe we don't like. And actually maybe give it more of a texture on how it's fading out. So you can still kind of see it down in there, so maybe we'd want to, you can see it's still kind of like, click, click, click. So now we got like a dope looking effect there. Go ahead and thicken it a bit here. Just grab the Z. Too thick. No such thing. It's looking pretty hot. Maybe this about how do you avoid the visible join in the band? It's like a way to have a seamless string. So, it's a great question. You know, we did this, but if you want it, you know, where we soften this edge here, but we're gonna have this, you know, it's gonna get sort of, you know, it's fading out a lot along where the seam used to be. So the seam's gone, but you kind of have this like gap now. So now let's go right here. You can double up the tiling. Sometimes this will work for you. You'll have two gaps. But you'll see this a lot. Like, this isn't a good example of it. But it's a way to sort of, you know, make it look sort of binary, I guess is the word. You know, you have more of a look like that. That's one way. The other is just, you know, tile it properly. So we can duplicate this, delete it, go like this, Control T to expand this out. So this is our good starting point here. So now we have a ring. There's no cutoff yet. So hit our eraser, 100%. Do our best to not hit these edges unless you actually want, like, I'll show you. So you can leave them seamed, basically, I guess, like, lack of a better word. Save that. And so if we hit it here, then we want to hit it like exactly on the other side. But then you're going to want to like do some actual like image tiling stuff. So what we're going to do, so we can see everything. Excuse me. Oh, I turned off all the effects. I meant to just turn off. So now I have a color overlay. And so what we do is grab this and move it 256. Can go, and we duplicate that later, alt drag, edit, transform, flip horizontal. There's other effects, you know, we have, this will like double it up, so you may not want that. So you do that, and then, well, you can't do that. You'll have to, trying to think. Basically, you can work within here now. Now your edges are seamless. There's some better tutorials on like actually like how to tile stuff. Just fill this back in. Turn these effects back on. We got like a little bit going on here for some reason. Basically, you just got to tile it. Wish I could give you a better answer here. You know, there's ways to do it, and I'm just like, and I do it all the time. I just can't think of like a good way to do it for this. Oh my gosh, please. You know, anything we do on this edge, we have to do on this edge. That's not going to be lined up perfectly. You can do something like this. Again, we'll go like real low opacity, 3%. Sort of hit up all over the place. There's definitely going to be a visible seam, but it'll give you a better idea of, you can kind of, actually you can't even see the seam. Well, there you go. So, we lucked out. Right tiling get you. Yeah, so that's basically it. You just have that seam going on there. We have our tint going on. We implemented that. Whoops, I did not want to animate that. And add a bit of a tint there. You know, normally, like you would just, it'd be almost all color. There wouldn't be any value, but it's really important to consider our colorblind brethren, colorblind brothers and sisters, and everything in between, and beyond. So adding value, even though it might not match your style a little bit. I mean, if it's real important to you, don't bother. But a good rule of thumb is to, you know, it can be nice to just have only the color. And there's some value to color. Like, color blindness isn't straight up. But it is there. So it's good to have value. Anyway, a little bit on the side. So now, hit our animation. That's pretty dark. Let's go ahead and... Oh my gosh, please don't animate that. I think our music ran out. What's going on? Let's hit up. Boom. Really annoying. Keep having it in record mode. Actually, it doesn't even need to be that dark. That's looking a little weird. It's like Swiss cheesy. You can see there's like lots of holes. Kind of not the best look. Oh, I still have the tiling it too. Please stop recording. What's it keep doing that? There we go. Looking hot again. Go ahead and give a bit of that texture again. Again, my color cutoff is tied to, or excuse me, my alpha cutoff is tied to my color cutoff. It just worked better in my own sort of workings. When I actually upload it, I'm going to fix that so you can have it. I just wasn't ready. I didn't think it'd be hard to fix, but I forget how much all that stuff is. If you came into the stream later, how much I was fidgeting with that. I just want to show you how this alpha influence can give you some different looks too. Again, it's less graphical, but it can look pretty hot. Instead, we'll hit the end of our animation. Here. Turn our alpha influence up. So that will give you a softer look. Actually, we'll go higher still. We could probably do this instead. Excuse me? That's weird. And just because of how it calculates it, you kind of, when you get to higher numbers, you kind of have to like really ramp it up. So like down here, you're actually going to want more of an S-curve. It's kind of like exponential. So it's like down here, you don't need to ramp it up as much, but to really get it going, in these later values, you gotta ramp it up. So that's an option for you too, but it's not fading out properly. Don't know why. Let's see, where's the alpha cutoff here? That's not very smooth, but you can adjust it yourself. So. You know, you can do color too, just straight up. Stop recording, turn color cutoff down here. The color cutoff is like how fast it transitions from the highlight and low light color. Based on black and white. Why are you recording? Stop doing that. Cool. There we go. Before I get to that, in my own implementations, I mean, I'm not gonna say don't animate color. Just do my best to use colors that are affected by the intensity, so it's just like I only have to animate the intensity. I've talked about that a lot in other videos, so you can just check those out. This alpha cutoff, we could probably S-curve a little bit. Excuse me. It's weird. Great, grand. What we're gonna do is pull this down a bit. It's kind of, we're getting some weird thing where it's like we want, well, and we're using a new texture now too, but it's like it's going a little bit too fast in the beginning. So now we got this going on. I don't know, almost look better the other way. I even want to start with it like a little bit. Oh, that looks a little whack. Again, it's just going to depend on your own works. What you want from it. Just not animating, it's like holding on to like. We can fix that with the texture. But why though? Why is it? Is something weird going on here? No. I don't know what's going on. It's just the texture. back to that other texture. Oh right, it wasn't. Back it up, back it up, back it up. Offset back, so that's more on the front. So now we're going to animate that offset. It's a really nice way to give it some more motion. You can do it with rotation too, but I mentioned before how animating rotations can be a huge pain in the fanny. So what we're going to do, go in, grab our X tiling offset, or XUV offset, and as it goes through, we're going to give it some motion. It's like, you want to rotate up, it's probably like a better motion. So as we go through, it's doing some weird stuff. Oops, let me do that. Sometimes your motions can fight each other, which is what we're getting going on here. Add a key and make it really. Oh. It's still a little slow, but we'll probably just fix it with the overall speed setting in the end. You can see that's looking pretty hot. You can go ahead and animate the color just for the sake of showing it. Let's go through here at the end. Again, it's animating a little bit because of the alpha cutoff. Implementation is sort of looks at that, or is affected by that. I have a little bit of color going on too. You may want that, you may not. Go ahead and hit play. Run over here, where it is. Go on. Oh, I think I have the run back over. Should move my character over. So, built into Unity, you can have just a speed multiplier. Just hit 2, double it up. Something like that going on. So it's looking pretty sick. There's some other things I don't have it implemented, unfortunately, and it's really subtle. But you can also, it can look really nice though. Maybe I'll hit it up when I actually do the upload. You can do a view space, or excuse me, view angle value, so that way things just like curving, like the things that are the faces that are facing farther away, you can tint them or even fade them out, like in the new Dragon Ball they do that. It's a little weird, but sometimes you can have some sharpness right here that you don't want. Kind of quote unquote betrays the mesh. And so you can soften that based on the view angle, like you fade it out, the alpha, and it can look nice. I don't bother with it. I can understand why they do it, but I don't necessarily like it that much. But doing a value, like if you darkened it, like add some of that blue, that shadow color, make it look really 3D, that can look really cool. What's next? Let's see. There's that. What do we got? Shader overview, texture, blending effects. The flat ring, the tire ring, and then a wedge ring. So we won't have to change too much. It's like circle 45 or something like that. Let's see. What did I name it? Angle ring, imagine that. I thought I had another one. This is pretty good. It's a little extreme. Kind of depends on what you want. So already you can see you can get some new motions with that. That's pretty dope. We would be a lot of times with this effect you'd be doing that like double up here. Excuse me. Gosh, I must have. Oh yeah, it's animated because we did that offset. So go ahead. Looks dope. Getting some weird animation like that maybe get. Go ahead and grab this. So this is why we have like the multiple parenting, because this very first parent is usually going to be based on like your character, like where they're facing or whatever, and the rotations and things. So here, this parent above it all, and what the hell? That was weird. And then we grab the actual like top of it. It's offset for some reason. I don't know what's happening. That's weird. Why is it off so much? These are all at 0, right? I don't understand that. Oh, because it was on the pivot. I mean the chaos emeralds. Give it a shot. So yeah, you can get effects like that. That is like tiling wrong or animating wrong. It's obnoxious. Oh, it just shoots up to 2 for some reason. You start getting tons of values in here, it can be kind of annoying. Anyway, that seems showing up, but we want something like that. This it's just like I need to fix it. I changed my shader a bit, so just gotta this one that's 2? No. Flip normals. Hopefully that fixes it. So you have effects like that. It's actually pretty hot. All we did, it's the exact same animation. You know, we doubled it up. We don't necessarily have to do that. It was just sort of a quick thought. If we bring that back down to 1. You know, we have this effect. It just looked a bit nicer. Again, on these effects that are sort of like, rather than like a big, thin sort of like shockwave, but like more like these like along the ground sort of shockwaves. That double up effect can look really nice. That's why we did it. So. I think here, go back in there with the large wedge. We'll do a few more implementations here. Let's see here. I have to make new animations and stuff, so it'll be like a whole new thing. Duplicate our friend here. Controller. Actually, for this tutorial, probably don't need to do that. So there's a shot in this video. Where homeboy does a super kick. That's right here. Right there. We have this sort of, you know, stretchy out sort of effect. So we'll do something like that. We also see it when they dash around, if that shows up pretty quick here. Let's see. Boop, boop, boop. Come on, my friend. I thought it was sooner than this. There it is. Do some dashing and stuff. You can see that's really similar effect. And like that punch right there. You can see they have that wedge that we just worked on, like right here. It's like almost identical effect. They do two to give you sort of some motion, so it's like you have one that starts and then a second smaller one that starts. And just simply by doing that, you can have some nice motion where it kind of fades out at a unique rate, if you know what I'm saying. Show it again, just get an idea of some of their motion. Let's watch that in slow-mo. So right there, I got some cool stuff going on in here. Kind of stretches out, fades out. You can see the mesh like stretching. So we're just gonna do something like that. It looks pretty rounded. Maybe we'll go ahead and do that too, make a new mesh. So let's animation's turned off, right? No, it's not. Oh, I didn't do the new one yet. Okay, good. So grab this circle, angular ring. I think I had that open already. Close all windows. Move back up. We go to object mode. Shift D to duplicate. Turn off this one. And we'll do, I don't know, like oblong, ring? I don't know. I do ring or circle, so when I'm searching in Unity, it's easier to find. But these UVs are already mapped, so that's why it's nice to just do something like this. Like scale it out like that. It got pretty thin here, so let's go ahead and do that. Do X, delete edge loops. Scaling this is going to affect a little bit where that middle ring was, and it will distort our UVs a bit, so that's why I redid it. Here. And we're going to be stretching it quite a bit, so an extra ring right here is going to be pretty nice. Just scaling these a bit to create some softness. One right here might not hurt. And then as we like scale it, go around like that, so you can see it's much softer. That'll look nice. So it's like not even. Like that. We may even want like another ring right here. There's some little bit better ways to implement that, but again, I don't want to like redo the UVs and stuff. It can be annoying. So save that. It's called oblong something. That's all I really need to remember. Oh right, we had that double one in there. So is that the problem? Is that what you're doing to me? Oh no, it's just our old one. So now, you know, right here, a rotation and things we don't want to mess with too much, because when you instantiate, this is Unity specific, so just keep that in mind. But it's going to be based on, you know, those scales and rotations, or those are basically going to get zeroed out and be based on like where your character is. So this stuff, we want to zero out. We will do like, you know, something like that. We'll scale it up. You know, a lot of times your mesh in the space is going to be huge because you're creating a canvas for yourself to like draw on. That's just something to keep in mind. You know, it's going to be a lot bigger. It's going to seem weird that it's so giant, but then, you know, the actual effect isn't going to have that much presence. I mean, it's going to be a lot. You know, these are over-the-top anime effects, but we may round this out a bit more. I'm thinking that we should. Alt right click to grab an edge, and then S to scale if you don't know. That's not quite the look I wanted. Probably not too important. I don't know. Maybe it looked okay. We'll go with that. If I hate it later, we'll change it. Any questions at the moment? Nah. Let me just fix up some scaling. We may want to bring that all the way in. I don't know yet. It's going to depend on your effects. But you may want it so like this actually comes in all the way, or almost all the way. I'm thinking that's the case. Sorry. Hopefully this will go quick. So we scale it out, and then this is maybe hard to explain, or hard to, hold on, oh my gosh. Edge, slide, and then we'll bring it back towards the middle this way. So what's happening is that, like, I don't know, I kind of softened it too much. Okay, it's hard to explain. It's because we're like, as we're scaling it up, we're kind of effing with sort of their screen space, sort of ratio, I guess. Hopefully this is edifying in a way, though, even though it's I think it's important to show your process. Control R to edge cut, if you didn't know that. Let's take a glance at that. So yeah, we got this like real sharp thing, but I like that we actually have that arrow piece there. Gosh, it's hard to see. Hopefully, oh yeah, nice. All right, cool. I'm glad we did it. It looks better. You might want to soften that up. It might not even matter when you're actually animating some stuff, though. So let's go ahead and grab our anime smoke here. We'll duplicate it so we have a new material. We'll drop that on there instead. Soundtrack just ran out, so we're gonna hit up Troublemakers. So let's just see what it looks like this. You can see that like sort of circular look, which is happening now, which is you know, not what we want exactly. This is looking kind of cooler though. But no, again, this is like a way different look. Already I know that something like that. We're gonna grab this, duplicate it, drop that new one on there. So now we're editing this new one. So we'll start the same. Should we delete all our hidden layers? Layer, delete, hidden layers. Yes, please delete hidden layers. Throw that on there. Again, we'll go like this. It is still sort of like, what am I trying to say here? I'll just show it. Make a cut down the middle. Let's make it a little sharper than that. I don't know why it's that important, but we're doing it. You know, made a cut down the middle, up and down, but it's going across, like it's going, you know, we're thinking of it this way, would be up and down like this, but it's, you know, coming this way. So it's just important to keep that in mind. Actually gonna rotate it so, just for my own purposes, that the middle is like facing us. This is one of those ones where doubling it up might be dope. Have to mess with the offset a bit like that too. I rotated it in world space, but you could rotate it in, you know, UV space too if you needed, like I just did there. You know, having it sort of symmetrical can look kind of nice. It just depends on your own style. We'll mess with it. We didn't before, so let's do it this time. So now we're just looking for, you know, some cool, like, swirly smokes sort of stuff. We're just gonna mess a bit. I think this is kind of nice too. You know, the implementation has already been explained pretty much. So now if we just sort of mess about, it can be fun too. You know, at this point, stop watching, I guess is what I'm getting at, if it's gets boring. In that specific example, they had some, like, lots of, like, tendrils. So maybe we'll just sort of do something like that. Even though these lines are straight, because of the nature of the mesh, it's gonna like expand as it comes outward. As we touch it up, we'll want to, like, you know, improve that, but it's looking a little whack. I don't like that. Let's look at their example again real quick. It's pretty basic. Let's actually go the other way. I'm gonna start painting. Try zigzagging this way. Oh, that's gonna make that really not soft. So now that's a little bit, I mean, this is whack, but it's closer to the effect where it's kind of like coming in and out. You may want to do something like this. So even though that mesh gives us some, excuse me, something like that, gives us, like, you know, it's thin at the front and skinny at the back. We might want to see what something like that gives us. Again, our alpha influences. Something like that. Is it upside down? There we go. Got a lot of stuff in the way with this. I should turn the UI off real quick. Stop the tablet real quick. So I'm just trying to get a good shape here, which I'm kind of struggling with. It's getting closer. It's just so fat back here. It's like it doesn't like that. That's a good bit. Better. We're getting there. So there's, so I was talking about where like your actual effect might be giant. You could scale it out, you know, as part of the animation like that. But you can see it's getting pointy, right? It's like, man, that's not what we want. Maybe we just like actually scale it up like this, but then everything's just like growing all huge. So if we give ourselves some space here, and we take our tiling, and do stuff like that, that could be nice. You may want to adjust your mesh so it's like, I'm trying to say here, a higher fidelity. It kind of depends. I think I'm overthinking this a little bit. I glance at these effects, you know, there's not really much texture there. There's a good one over here. I don't remember. Started using 3 weeks ago. This looks intimidating. Oh, it's not. I mean, there's a ton to learn, but you just what am I trying to say here? What am I trying to say? You know, go based on your own abilities. What do I mean by that specifically? Like, you don't need to know all this right away. And if you have questions, just let me know. I have this alpha cutoff. So that motion is kind of weak, you know. It's kind of the problem, you know. Doing this like full opacity like that's not going to work. One of those cases where we want to go like grab our eraser and put it like 20% or something. Which side's the front? Right, fat at the top. Try to remember that. It's my favorite song on the soundtrack. Well, one of them. It's so hype though, dude. I love this song. What does someone say? I don't know. I would struggle with this texture. That's a little bit better. So the zigzag shape really helps us out. Let's see. It's just the motion's not that great. It's a little bit better. But it's almost like one of those ones where we want to like start with I'm trying to say here. Some stuff going on here. That's like better. It's just going to take some work, artistry on your own part. It's starting to look better though. Don't have much motion up in here. Just grab the smudge tool, pump up the jam on it, turn up the strength on it a bunch. What I was getting at is that you want to think about your beginning frames and like your end frames and sort of keep that in mind like when you're drawing. It's hard to explain, but there's a better way to explain it. Anyway. You can do so like this, where you like animate the UVs. That can look pretty cool. In that case, you may just want it to tile. I have it set to repeat, huh? Like I have it set to limited repeat. Or what is it? Clamp repeat. Thought I could do a better job here, but we might just call it for now. I think a lot of what the implementation is about has been explained. I just wanted to show just sort of a little bit different way to animate this. And I guess we could just give it a shot here. We're cutting out. Let's think about our beginning frame. It doesn't have to start from nothing. I think that's a mistake some people make. A lot of people make, excuse me. Where we're kind of like start from nothing. Like the effect is like down here. That looks pretty cool. But really, I talk about this a lot. Like in Soul Calibur, I think that, those games have really great graphics. A lot of Bandai Namco games have just great art. You can actually start from like something more like this, as your initial impact, and actually it looks really great. We'll go ahead and just see what we can get going. And these, and then smoke, punch, any. Vector control. All this animation stuff can be intimidating, though. Admit. I said punch because it's Mr. One Piece. What's his name? Luffy, Monkey. I don't know what they call him. Really, but Trying to think if there's like a simpler way we could start. Like if we just, rather than having it look so smoky, just give us a good starting point, and then like if we sorry, trailed off there. Work from there. We'll see. I'm just gonna do this real quick. Not very sharp. It's kind of hard, just like getting used to see, then the motion's going this way. Oh, so that's why maybe like do the offset like that. Some of these sort of graphical errors won't show up actually in runtime. I don't know how to set it up. Go ahead and turn on clamp for that. So previewing it, we don't get those glitches. So my main issue again is like, you know, we do this alpha cutoff and it's kind of like fading towards the front. But if we check out, you know, some of those effects, what to do. And you can kind of, you know, you want to work in conjunction with, you know, your mesh motion, maybe some UV animation, and then the cutoff as well. You know, all those sort of like fade out backwards. And it could be, let's just the mesh moving back, or it's funny, I think this is almost the exact same shape, it's just flipped. It's not exactly the same. It might be, actually. They might do some sort of like, they really just flip the texture. I think I'm thinking about this a little bit wrong. Alright, I set it to clamp, we can't have that. At least in the, while we're working on it. Again, at runtime it actually does things correctly, but just trying to see what their initial frames are like. So it's just like this. Oh, he disappears a little bit, that's cool. Disappears a bunch. Oh, does he do that in the show? There's two separate meshes. Maybe not. Maybe it's just the way the texture's set up. So you can see it's actually really, it might be a sphere. You can see it wrapping around like this. And then it expands outward. Oh, I think it's a sphere. That's interesting. That's really interesting. That's why we do this. We learn so much. If you'll humor me. Duplicate the one we just made. Yeah, X. There's a few ways we could go about this. We'll try this. So we're going to scale this down to the same size, roughly. Doesn't matter too much. Make it even thinner, do almost like a true sphere. Control R. Again, there's going to be way better ways to do this. But we'll try this. I just don't want to have to redo the UVs. That's the annoying part. That's why I'm doing this like sort of shoddy way. And this is sort of new information. Well, I'm a little excited to learn that we're doing like a sphere. This is a really uneven mesh, so hopefully you'll forgive me. Kind of pointy. Just go ahead and go. You know, the thing about like spheres and circles, it's like, God, it's hard to explain. Did I already say that? You can, oh man, I'm doing the wrong thing. It's that sort of continuous motion that gives you a lot of power, I guess. Like, what I mean by continuous motion is that, you know, it goes in and it comes back around. Rather than just, you know, how we had that ring that just sort of cut off and just stopped. So even though it's like coming back upon itself, already that feels like better. And then if we, you know, do something like this. Do that. And then we have it fading out. Dude, it's like night and day. Alright, cool. We're all learning together. How devs make games to start respecting me more. Yeah, game dev's hard, yo. I'm excited, you know, it was a little weird to like fidget like on screen. You know, mostly excited because or satisfied already because the bulk of what we wanted to talk about has been said. So again, people can just stop the video now if they're bored as heck. Alright, your roommates are singing. Probably to the dog. Oh my God, sorry, she's cracking me up. Let's think about So they actually, and upon further inspection, you know, they just got like a little bit, they don't think about it in terms of like being, you know, like this is the front and this is the back. It's a little more like loose. Cut into it, this. This may not be good at all, but shit. It's not quite so chaotic in their instance, but it is more like that. We may go back to our original one, but gives you room to do stuff like this too. And you could have, gosh, that's cool now that I think about it. You can have a mask. Let's do it. I forgot I implemented the mask. You not working on me? Is that working on the front? No, because it's showing up. What's the dealio? There, it's working. Is it based on the alpha or something? And I goofed up? I think I must have done something like that. Open it up. Yeah, that's exactly what I did. So. Oh, right, because it's a, gosh darn it. Just grab that. Go to this mode. Actually do black here, just so it shows up in a certain way in the editor in Unity. And we don't want like a, we don't necessarily want it all the way. Oh my gosh, I'm at 10%. Hold shift to do a straight line. Actually, I think it's more like this. Yeah, so now we can adjust that a little bit. I want it a little sharper than that. More like, you can even give some texture to it. It might not show up too much, but for the sake, again, of showing how to do this. So now, you know, have this mask, and we can do this like fade out stuff like this. God, that's sick. And you know, our stuff just fades out. See, already, like, our texture is a little bit better. You know, maybe start here, some like rotation while it's going on, and then just scale it down like that, and then do the alpha cutoff. It's a little bit different than the one that we were looking at, but you know, we've just been inspired, so. more fiery looking. And with effects like this, you can, like if you wanted like a sustained effect, I'd have to turn off the tiling, but you could have this offset like come through and it would just repeat, do you know what I mean? But you have this mask right here, so it's like you can just throw, I'll explain that in another video, but that's just another thing you could do. Alright, let's actually think about this animation here. Any questions? Sweet. So, what we learned is that they're animating the scale, which is really neat. You start like let's see how that looks. Let's see. Already even that looks okay. We may want to grow it up a bit though. Like in the other. I don't know, it almost looks better when you don't do that. If we just... It's almost like we want it to pop up a little bit right here though. I think if we adjusted that a little bit more, it would look better. We want this to happen pretty quick. Like these initial frames, we actually probably want to be more like... We'll adjust the speed and stuff. We're just sort of feeling this out. I'm like of two minds. Like you may want it to be like I like the skinniness here, but it's kind of nice if it got fat, you know. It depends on your motion. The song's pretty tight too. So it's almost there already. It's pretty tight. Again, we may want to start more like may start pretty early. I think it's just the timing. Let's mess with these curves. Fast and slow out like we like to do. We're geniuses. For this, we're gonna want some glow, methinks. It's glow, baby. Oh my god. So initial motion's a little bit hard. Alright, alpha cutoff to follow that same motion. See, I'm thinking the scale does need to come up a little bit. And the other axes as well. Get some inconsistent motion there. So we gotta do fast in and slow out with the other axes as well. God dang. Oh my god. Seriously, we're geniuses. Oh, holy shit! God, that looks sick. Oh my god. Seriously, we deserve an award. Control S that noise. This looks awesome. Thanks. Yeah, I mean, it's cool just to see that they use a sphere like that. And I know I'd seen it in other effects. I just didn't realize they were doing it right there, and I'm glad we discovered this. Doing it together has been fun too. Let's see how else we can improve this. Actually gonna mess with the values a bunch. Now that we have more of an idea of what the effect wants to be. Intensity, of course. Ramp it up. And then as we fade out, I mean, it's hard because like not fading it out looks dope too, but. I don't know, maybe we only like fade it out. I do want to animate the color a bit, and that's kind of why I want to do the intensity. So if I make these values more, don't record that. Talked about this before, but like you do like cooler colors and then I don't want to animate that. But really like ramp up the intensity. Please don't record these. Out of here, dude. then if you ramp up the intensity, then you can get brighter colors, and then as it fades out, it'll get cooler and, you know, less luminous. Go ahead and just check that out in runtime. Noise, so much tedious work. Oh, that's art. I mean, it doesn't bother me. Sometimes it can. Doing particle stuff sometimes like bugs me, but all this anime just happening all over the place. We would change that texture a little bit, maybe sharpen it up. Let's go ahead and scaling. I think we do need to improve on it. All those little tendrils at the end is cool. Like if we wanted to like push that more, what you would do is you know, take a low opacity and just cut some stripes through these like trails. Especially like back in here. And see how, you know, we have all these like little like fiery things going through now. It's sick. Yeah, the motion isn't perfect yet. Let's mess with that. Do you think this needs to just scale up a bunch? Don't record, please. In the beginning, do one of these, and then immediately it's getting a little bit hard to match those up. It's a little bit better. That's sick. It's so simple too. Like I really thought they did a little bit of like UV animating and stuff too. But they're just like scaling it up and it looks so nice. That's the thing with like having the right mesh is just like it can control your motion through that sphere is just so cool. I'm so glad that we saw that. And I'm sure, you know, other people have been implementing it since forever, but I don't know, it's dope. Get a little nuts. We'll try something. Didn't show up very well. That's looking pretty cool. Might want to push that even like up into here. Yeah, I try to avoid animating the color, but so it's sort of a different effect, but now you have like like an ashy look, so it like fades to black. maybe for something like that. That's a little more akin to like the style I have going on in this game right now. You may not like it as much, but I think it looks pretty cool. And this wasn't the best way. Is that set to 2 already? Oh, okay, cool. Run back over. I meant to... Yeah, it's a little fast. We're missing some of our motion because of it. Mostly because it's fading to black and there's nothing to like... to pure black. If you did that a little bit better, it would look pretty odd, I think. Let's try to... try that instead. Hayate Army. You're doing a very good effort. Thanks. Sorry, I don't know that language. That looks a little bit better. I think our original one looked the best so far, though. There's some roundness to it, which is just part of like the alpha cutoff thing. You can get around that if you got really nuts. You would... You know how our like fade out is sort of rounded this way? Oh, it would be hard, but you could do it. Basically, I'll show you a quick example. I'm gonna do a whole new layer. You would start, and I'm doing black right now, but you would do it with your alpha. You could change the shader to do you know, alpha, or you could just work like this and then go back to alpha. So you'd have more like these ashy shapes. As your like full opacity, and then you would have, you know, your more rounded soft shapes as your low opacity. Oh, I thought I switched. It's hard to tell. Let's go darker because this background. And so you would start like soft like this, and then you'd do a little bit of blending. You know, you'd like follow these shapes that you made like that. And so what would happen is that you'd start soft like this, and then you'd get these hard edges at the end. Wish I could show you a little bit better. It's just hard to like conceptualize it with the alpha. Let's see. Let's try and do it real quick. Gosh, it's hard. Could do sort of cheatery where we go like. It's not even showing up because of the. Actually, I may even use like a hard brush. Oh, I didn't have the shape dynamics on it. It's hard to see. It's going to show up in the animation, but it's going to be like hard to see. We're doing these more sort of like soft, excuse me, like concave edges. We'll see what happens. It may not work as intended, but it's really how you could just take some of these effects like to the next level. This is going to be a little bit of a fudge up because these are, yeah, you'll see. could see it better out here because of the glow effect. But see how we're turning into like these more ashy sort of shapes. Once you sort of like wrap your head around it, it's not too bad, and that little extra effort can give you some just really cool effects. So that's just another thing to keep in mind. You can see that sort of ashiness coming. They're not animating because I was working at 100% opacity because I wasn't thinking. If I would have done that a little more, like at 20 or something, it would have looked pretty hot, because then those would have actually animated. Let me see if I can just show you again. So we're going to start soft here. Get 10%. This is going to be real simple. We're just going to do like... bring it down. It's hard to see. That's one of the hard parts about it when you're actually working. But then you make new shapes. Make sort of like concave sort of shapes. You know, those ashy, like busted, what am I trying to say? Like dead leaves sort of look. Those are gonna look kind of whack, but you can see what I mean there. Like, I didn't capture it perfect, but you know, at the end there, how, you know, we start with these like soft rounded shapes, and then it gets more in terms of those hard shapes. And already that's kind of cool. Just something to keep in mind. I think I've about covered it though. I'm pretty excited about how this turned out. I'm gonna throw in some of this implementation myself. There's a couple more things I wanted to show. Trying to think how best I could do it. Just running a little long already. Can someone kick this kid? Oh, is this person a bother? Weird too. Oh man, don't use that word. I work at Unity about 10 years and your work is really fantastic. Oh, thanks. Oh, I don't know what's going on. Anyway. Chat's not that important. At least for this. We could get away with maybe animating that a little bit too. Oh, we're just getting nitpicking now. Okay, let's grab the notes. Yeah, I wanted to do like a dust cloud. I wish I could show out that double mesh one a little bit better. You see it a lot in Platinum games. And again, I mentioned that Dragon Ball, the new Dragon Ball. Just my meshes weren't created correctly. I guess we could just go over, you know, everything that we learned. You know, alpha cutoff's like the main thing. Go ahead and do it again. Because there's, I mean, I could show this other thing. It's just not that. It's nothing really new. Basically, I'll just show it. All I wanted to show off real quick is like, whoops, I have it slowed down. Oh, okay. We'll keep it slow. So if this effect, come on, brother, you're taking so long. They use it like with their water too. You can see the cutoff right here. They have these big splashes, and then they throw in like a couple particly effects with them. I say particle, but they're probably pretty big meshes. It's just a lot of, you know, cutoff happening. to show that sort of splash effect. You know, right there, they have something they do that's pretty cool. Is that they have, you know, they really focus on the motion. So like right here, you know, expands outward. They have a little bit of cutoff starting right here. That happens first. You know, these holes here. But there's no change happening here yet. And then, you know, like the stronger alphas start to come in there. And then like there's like a big jump. And it's these big circular shapes. You know, again, to give it that like stylized look. You know, basically it's like when we were first making it. And you know, we basically just grab the old eraser and just like start punching holes like. Yeah, our effect's gonna be a lot different, but it's kind of curious to see how it would look. Anyway, just something to keep in mind is like your opacity can kind of let you animate it. Like it's not just like randomness. It's not just having a soft edge. That's just a good place to start. But it's like I mentioned, or what I was working on before I showed that example is, you know, you can kind of change the shape of your texture at the end there. So I suppose that's it. Hopefully this was helpful. I did want to hit play so we could see our stuff happening. Like all the effects that we worked on. And this one on the bottom here. You know, these sort of like wedge effects you can do. Sorry, there's a lot going on. They have this like shockwave effect. We have like going like that. You can do it. You know, focus on it being like this. You know, you can do some billboarding or just like when it instantiates, it faces the camera. Or you can keep it more 3D. What I'm looking at is the white one here. Sorry, there's a lot going on. And you know, there's those ones that I started with. One thing I do with mine, so we have this shockwave effect coming out. Not the ones on the ground, but these rings here. I scale the Z down, so you can see it's getting thinner and thinner. It's just another thing to keep in mind that you're welcome to do, or you know, another idea rather. But that effect's pretty cool. I kind of want to try one more thing with it. Thinking about like animating the texture a little bit, but again, it's like we don't have to like do any UV animation. It's like we could just do something silly like this. Gives it even more pop. So yeah, it's like a lot more pop now. It's so hot. I want to try one more thing. Sorry, I don't keep like doing these like false quitting, but wanted to try just give it a little bit of a bit of one of those. Is it? May not be what you want, but it gives you a little bit more motion. Do something like this. Oh, it looks sick. Just another thing to keep in mind, we could actually start from here too. The motion looks better. That might look better, just based on like how we're seeing it. That might look better. So yeah, we just animated the X offset, so we're kind of rotating it. You could again, you could do it with rotation, but when you can, using the UVs is a lot more helpful. Another quick thing that I just wanted to try. You know, we're getting a lot of that motion with the just the scaling. I was thinking about maybe we could increase the tiling a little bit. Remember, we have that mask, so it's like we can tile this out, and our mask will like cut it off for us. So it's like we can. So now you get more of that look. So it's kind of stretching it out. You know what I mean? So even though like the mesh is kind of like stretching it out for us, we can do a little bit extra. So like that doesn't look as good. Can actually do the opposite and mess with that. You do something like that, where it's like it pulls back in, it kind of stops the motion in a different way. So that way that the mesh is still expanding, but like you kind of limit how it flies back like that. Sorry, we got these mischief maker effects going on. So that's another thing to keep in mind. Yeah, that about does it. Again, this stuff's all going to be available. I'll have all the textures when I upload it to the Patreon. I wanted to thank everyone. I got a bunch of new followers, got a bunch of new support on Patreon. It's been incredible. So thank you all so much. If you have any questions, please hit me up. Again, the Patreon is patreon.com/cultureattack. You know, the videos, one of the main philosophies is free and open information. So I like try to do these videos. They're there. If you want to support, do it, but don't feel bad. Like they're there to be free. Same with the assets. If you have any questions, I'm on Twitter a lot. Twitter.com. I guess / is at @CAS_kicks. It's the way to do it. Is that? Oh, it's the same one. I wanted to hit up our other one before we head out. Kind of hard to see it. Remember, beginning. Did the same thing. It's like the same motion. Looks like we scaled it up a bit. Just using a different mesh gave us a completely sort of different feel. Oh, it's hard to see with our other homie in there, but keep doing these full starts. Sorry. I'll show that other effect that we did. that about does it. Thank y'all so much. Sorry, it's kind of a slow fade out there, but yeah, that should do it. Please let me know if you have any topics or effects that you want covered. We learned together. We did here, like some of the stuff I didn't even know. We figured it out on stream, which is pretty sweet. Yeah, thank y'all so much. I'll catch you later.